Lindsay, how are you?
Hey, Aubrey, I'm feeling great. How are you? What's going on?
Excellent, excellent. I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's fall, right? I feel like
Yes.
fall is such a good time for starting new things. People are starting school, maybe we're starting fitness goals. But so my question is, what about you? Have you started anything new lately?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I am dreaming of starting a dance class. I want to, because I'm not a very good
Oh.
dancer, never really have been. And I would love to take like a hip hop dance class or just a modern dance class. And there's
Video or it didn't happen? Have you ever heard that expression?
no.
People are like, "Pictures or it didn't happen," or like,
No.
"Video or it
Yeah, I
didn't
know,
happen." We're
right?
saying like,
Yeah.
"I wanna
I'm
see
not going to
some
send you a
video.
video. No
Wanna
way.
see
It's
video.
not
Post it
happening.
on our social media."
Never.
I love that though, that's so
Yeah,
fun.
it's an aspiration, so let's see if I can do it, but yeah, that is something. That's my big thing for the fall, so let's make sure I commit to that. What about you, Aubrey? Are you doing anything, committing to anything new
Mm.
this September?
You know, I am going to recommit to something I stopped doing. We have a indoor bike, a Peloton, and I was really good about doing a
Oh.
ride most days, and I'll bet it's been 2 weeks since I did a ride. So I need to start back
Uh-oh.
up again, right? I need to recommit because I
Yes,
miss it. I really
yeah.
loved it, and I feel it affecting me physically too. I'm like
Really?
breathing heavily as I get up to the top of the stairs. I'm like, "Oh
That's so
boy,
f I
okay.
think a lot
We
of
need to
people.
get back
Yeah?
into the swing of things."
Well, it's funny because we were on our fluency party last night, and a lot of we were talking about exercise, and a lot of students said that they were in a exercise lull at the moment, which actually kinda surprised me because it's been summer, but people are busy with work and
Yeah,
life,
you're
and
still busy, and
yeah.
sometimes when it's really hot out, you don't
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like working out
Oh
and
my
getting
gosh,
s hot and
especially where you
sweaty.
live. Yeah. Yeah,
I love
Arizona.
that word lull, just kind of like
Lull.
a lower amount of activity, and
Yes.
that happens to the best of us, so we're there with you, all of you listeners. If you're in an exercise lull, we'll do this together,
We'll
jumpstart our
we'll do
fitness
it
routines.
we'll do it together. A good little challenge there. That's a bonus for today, by the way. Lull. It's a
Mhm.
lull. As you said, it's kind of a lapse in activity. It's when something goes down, something slows down or kind of stops.
Yeah,
Right?
and we also hear this a lot, if people are talking about being out on a ship and there are, like, waves, there's a lot of, like, there's a storm, and then the calm after the storm, they'll call that a lull. That's just,
Yes.
like, slower lack of
Yes.
activity or lack of movement, right? So we
Right.
use that in lots of different ways. Be sure to
Interesting.
get the app if you don't have it, that'll definitely be in the
Mm.
app.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yes, I love it. And so what are we getting into today, Aubrey? What are we going to teach our listeners in this very special bonus episode? What are we talking
Yes.
about?
This is such a great connection skill to ask someone, a friend or a coworker about something they have started or are about to start. People get
Mhm.
excited about new goals or something they've started recently. So
Yep.
we're going to teach you guys 2 idioms that are really fun for talking about something new.
Yes, and the reason we're getting into this is that you guys know that All Ears English is sponsored by Rosetta Stone. So this is a special episode where we're going to talk about, what can we do to really get our language learning started this fall and how can we talk about it? It's really a connection skill when we commit to something. We just had a little connection moment there where I said I want to pick up a dance class, and now you learned that I'm not a dancer, and now we can go on about that skill, right? Starting something new is inspiring, so it's a connection moment right here. Yeah?
Absolutely. And if
Mhm,
someone asks you, like, what's something new that you've either started or are about to start,
mhm.
talking about starting to learn a new language is the perfect answer, right?
Yes.
So if you haven't, right, you're learning English, but think of all the other languages you could pick up and at least learn a little bit, be ready to travel somewhere. And
Mhm.
this app we've started using, Rosetta Stone, is so perfect for that. So
Oh my gosh, it's
we want to make
amazing.
sure that you guys are aware of this special offer that they are giving to All Ears English for a limited time.
Yeah, and maybe you've heard us mention it in the last few episodes, the last couple of months, but this is the time right now. This is the key moment. Maybe your kids are going back to school, they're getting aligned with their goals. This is the time to go over and get this special deal that we have. So, right now, guys, all ears English listeners can get Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership now for 40% off. Yeah?
Yes, that's just $179 for unlimited access to 25 different language courses for the rest of your life. So, guys, you can redeem your 40% off at rosettastone.com/AEE today and use coupon code AEE.
And I'll just go ahead and spell that to make sure our listeners can type that into their URL, right? It's rosettatastone.com/AEE. So go over there now, guys, grab that special deal, get on board with starting something new, right? Because this is kind of what makes life alive, right? It makes us
Yes,
alive is it's refreshing. I remember when I started learning
exactly.
Arabic back in the spring, I just felt so refreshed.
Absolutely, right? You don't wanna have nothing to say when someone says, "What's
Yeah,
something new you're doing lately?"
that's
Right? Pick up
true.
a new language with Rosetta Stone so you have something interesting to say. An app like this is a great way to learn new phrases like the ones we're going to teach you today, right? You're
Yeah,
learning this great way to connect with friends and coworkers, and then you have the vocabulary to do it
yes.
in lots of different languages.
All right, I love it. So assuming you guys are going over getting that special deal from Rosetta Stone, now we're gonna give you the expressions to talk about getting started with the language. Yeah, with a new
Yes,
language.
absolutely.
Good stuff. All right, so it could be English, of course, that you guys are working on, or it could be another language, right? Maybe we want to expand beyond learning English. We want to learn something else. There are 25 languages over there. Aubrey, what's the
Yes.
first expression for our listeners today?
All right, this idiom is get the ball rolling, which just means to get started with something new. So, for example, you might want to say, I've been wanting to learn to play the guitar and I finally got the ball rolling and signed up for a class. So, it's
Um,
just a really fun way to say you've gotten something started, that you've started something new.
And I find that mentally, there's a real it's about the endowed progress effect, right? If we can do something to get the ball rolling, because I look at a task sometime and I think, "Oh my gosh, how do I even start?" Do you get that, Aubrey,
Oh,
when it
yeah.
just
It's
feels
so easy to
insurmountable?
procrastinate when
Yeah.
there's a lot to do, or maybe the first step is
Yes.
very challenging. It's so easy to put it off, like, oh, I'll do that later.
It's hard, but then if you know what that first step is, like, for example, in this case, it's signing up over there with the Rosetta Stone. If you know what that first step is, you just do that step and you're already making progress. It sounds silly, but I actually think there's a mental shift we can create if we do those things, right?
Absolutely. Well, and then you're investing in yourself. That creates so much more motivation. Now you're like, okay, I've got this lifetime membership. Now I'm going to
Yeah.
dedicate a certain amount of time each day to actually move forward with this goal.
Right. Or another example, we've talked about this on the podcast before. Another example would be if you have a project, just setting up a spreadsheet and making columns of how you're going to track whatever you're doing.
If you're a
um,
spreadsheet type person, yes, absolutely.
yeah. For sure, for sure. I mean, whatever it is you need to feel like an outline or a map, maybe get a whiteboard, go buy the whiteboard, put it up on your wall, get some nice markers. That is step one to move to getting
Yes.
going with this project. So I love it. So here's another
And
example. Yeah,
well,
go
I've
ahead.
really quick, I want to share. I feel like that's one thing that's really built into the Rosetta Stone app that I've
Yeah.
loved. Like, if you're not a spreadsheet type person, you have like the units and lessons are so clear, and then they
Yes.
mark off and they're completed. You can
Oh,
see your progress on there.
love
So it's
that.
kind of like built into an app like that.
Yeah.
So that's really nice too. Then you can see your progress towards a goal.
Yeah, I think all successful people in the world, they understand how their mind works, right? They
Right.
understand what's encouraging, what's discouraging, and they do these things that let them get that edge towards achieving their goals. And the progress effect is one of them, right? So if we have an
Right.
app that marks our work off, just all the better for getting to our goal. I love
So
it.
motivating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to say the second example
Yeah. Let's
because
do
I'm
it.
realizing it's very applicable
Oh my
to
gosh.
what you shared at the beginning of the lesson.
I
I
did not
might
even
say
see that.
to
That's so
Lindsay,
funny.
you've been talking about taking dance classes for years. It's time to get the ball rolling,
Did you
Lindsay.
change that example in
No,
our outline?
that
Oh,
was
that's
always
so
the
f
example. How funny is
that's
that?
weird. That's weird.
Though I do
Yeah,
feel like that is accurate. So maybe it was in the back of my mind because I feel like you've
maybe.
shared wanting to take dance classes. So
Well,
I'm
I used to
excited that
take
you're getting
capoeira.
serious.
So I was into
Oh,
capoeira
great.
for a year or so, and I find it hard because you have to be barefoot, and I just feel like my feet just take a beating on the
Mm,
floor, and so now I'm thinking, "Let's do a class where I can keep my shoes on."
there you go.
So, all right, so to get the ball rolling, guys, super native and natural. What's the second one? What's the second little idiom
Yes,
we're
the
gonna share with
second
them?
idiom is to shake things up. So, this
Mm.
is talking about starting something new to make significant changes in sort of an already established system. So, this is more the idea of like, I want to really do something new. I want to shake off the monotony of life. I want to be excited about something. That's when we use this idiom.
Oh my gosh, and just the little things can do this for us, right? For example, I need to shake things up. I think I'm going to start learning a new language. And what if we chose a language that was totally foreign to us?
Right.
Something like Chinese or something. If we've never learned a language that is a tonal language or different
Yeah.
structures, what if we just totally put ourselves out of our comfort zone? How
That's what
inspiring,
I did, Lindsay.
right?
I've learned Spanish and French pretty well, and when I first started using Rosetta Stone, selected Italian because I was being a
Cool.
lazy, well, I mean, I
I
love
was late.
Italian, it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
beautiful, but also I'm
But
like, "Okay, it's similar to
too
Spanish and
easy.
French, I'm gonna pick
Yeah.
this up so fast." And then I saw the list of all the languages, these 25 languages, and I was like, "Okay,"
Oh,
or
cool.
Chinese, and I went
Uh-oh.
into Chinese, and I was like, it is true, it challenges your brain. It's so good to shake things up like that, like, let's do something totally different.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, I remember, looking at the Arabic alphabet and trying to make sense of how the characters come together. Your brain gets you're bending your brain in a way that is, like I said before, it's refreshing. It's a great break from the day. We take 15 minutes out of our workday and do that. It's so good. So shake
Yeah.
things up. Another expression, let's go to a new restaurant this weekend just to shake things up. How often do you guys go to new restaurants in town? Do you tend, maybe I've asked you this before, but do you tend to go back to the same places or do you like to shake things up?
Both, really. There are certainly some places that we tend to go back again and again because we know we love them, but if a
Okay.
new place opens up close by, this is us. We're like, "All right, let's shake things up and try out this new place," and,
Shake
yeah, I
things
like
up.
to check out the new spots.
Yeah, me
What
too,
about
me
you,
too.
Lindsay?
Well,
Yeah.
Denver is not a huge food city, sadly, but I'm not a big foodie either, but I miss New
Mm.
York. I miss just the incredible level of food, of cuisine that you could get in a city like that. We have a handful of good restaurants. So yeah, we try to shake it up sometimes, but it's more about breweries here and
Mm.
hiking and just being outdoors than
Which is also
restaurants,
awesome.
which is
I What
also
I
good.
don't miss about New York is we never found a good Mexican restaurant,
Oh,
and
yeah.
there are, like, thousands of good Mexican restaurants in Arizona, so
Yes,
and I
that
love
is one
Mexican
thing.
food.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed about living in the West versus the East Coast. There's not really very good Mexican food on the East Coast at
I know.
all.
It's true.
It's so good
Lots
out
of
here.
options, but
Yeah.
not so much that
Or
way.
even just a simple, like, taco truck, food trucks are really good out here, which is cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, let's do a role play here and use these idioms in a
Alright.
conversation. In this role play, you and I are friends who ran into each other at the grocery store.
Okay, here we
I'll
go.
start us out. Ready?
Yep.
What have you been up to? Started anything new lately?
Yes, you know how I always wanted to start my PhD? I finally got the ball rolling on that.
Oh, exciting. Do you know what school you'll be attending?
Not yet, but I've applied to several places.
I'd love to do something like that to shake things up. You'll have to let me know how it goes.
Oh, that would be a shakeup.
Yes, it would,
It's
right? To
not a
start a
small
PhD.
project. It's not a side project to start a PhD. Wow,
That's
okay.
so true. Yeah, I do have friends that have done that once their
Oh,
kids are all in school and they have a little more time. They're like, "All right,
yeah.
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna get my PhD," and that's a big lifestyle change,
Wow,
but exciting.
humongous. Exciting, super
Mhm.
exciting. I love the idea of going so deep into one thing that you become, like, the world's number 1 expert on the one
How
thing,
amazing would that
like
be?
anthills or something, you know?
For
Something very
sure.
specific. So, alright, so here we go, back to these idioms. So you said, "What have you been up to? Started anything new lately?" And I said,
Yeah.
"Yeah, you know, how I always wanted to start my PhD. I finally got the ball rolling." And I added something there. I said, "I finally got the ball rolling on that." Kinda just ties
Mm,
up the whole thing, to be more
yes.
specific. Yeah.
This is so native and natural instead of saying, "Yeah, I finally started," or "I finally
No.
did it." That's right? This is so much more interesting to throw in this fun idiom.
Oh my gosh, for sure. It makes you more human, makes you more likely to connect. They're gonna wanna ask you a follow-up question at that point, right?
Yes, absolutely, which I did, right? I was like,
Mhm.
"Okay, what school are you going to?" And then
Right.
I said, "I'd love to do something like that to shake things up,"
Mhm.
right? And this is, again, so fun to throw in an idiom instead of saying, to do something new, to have a change in life, like, oh, throw in a fun idiom.
Yeah, guys. So again, your textbooks will show you that, but here on All Ears English, we like to show you the real English. And it's another great thing you can add on to your repertoire of learning over at Rosetta Stone. So let's go through the takeaway today first and then remind our listeners where they can grab the Rosetta Stone app. What's our takeaway? Where should we finish today's episode?
Yeah, guys, this is a great way to connect, to ask someone about something new they have started. It's something exciting for them to share about themselves.
Mhm.
And then you can share something new you started. What a great skill for connection.
Yeah, I also think like a life hack here could be that we just, on any given day, when we have a little time, we sit down and write down a list of kind of off the wall things we could do to shake things up. Because I feel like for me, Aubrey, I get into my daily routines and I'm pretty routine. Like I'm
Yeah.
working, I'm going to the gym, I'm eating dinner, I'm going to bed. It's like there's no space to come up with what could I do to shake it up. So I have a list. So then I could go back, hey, let's try this tonight. Let's try this. What do you think about that idea?
I love that idea. Then you're much more likely to start something new and you have more to talk about when someone
Yes.
asks you about it, right?
Oh my God,
That's
for
part
sure.
of it is just like be
Mhm.
thinking of new things to do, be shaking things up
It's
so that
true.
you have something interesting to talk about at a party or with friends.
That's kind of a really key point, right? That we've talked about before on this podcast. You actually have to do new things. You actually have to consume media, watch movies, read the newspaper, pay attention to what's going on in the world to be an interesting person, right? To be
Exactly.
able to connect. So, starting a new language, maybe a brand new one, would be one way to do it, or deepening our English as well. Aubrey, where could our listeners go to get that special deal just for the audience?
Yes, guys. If you've been wanting to start using a language app, now is the time. You can get 40% off a lifetime membership at Rosetta Stone. So go to rosettastone.com/AEE and use the coupon code AEE.
All right, good stuff. Thanks for hanging out. I'm inspired to make that list now and try some new things this fall. Good stuff.
Yes, awesome. Excited to hear about it. I need to make a list too. Have something to say when we go to a party.
Yeah, right? I know. You wanna be a good conversationalist for sure.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for hanging out today, Aubrey. I'll see you back here very soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay. Bye.
Bye.